And today, my AKAPADers, we're talking about someone I'm not supposed to like, because I guess on Twitter or whatever he's anti-American. But Seth Rogen and The Studio, available right now on Apple TV. This show is worth all of your time, all of your attention. It's fun as heck and brings me back to one of my favorite movies of all time, The Player. So let's go. It's the Film Buff Podcast, coming to you from Philadelphia, PA, the capital of the film. It's the film mecca. I don't know, AK Powers. Let's get through that intro. We got a lot to talk about.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Is Philadelphia, PA, the film capital of the world? That's what I was trying to say right there. I would say no. But I'm here. I live in Philadelphia, PA. The film buff lives, and I go to the bathroom. I sleep. I eat my food in Philadelphia, PA. My AKAPADers. I think it's the capital because I'm here. But so anyway, I'm not. I just want to go real quick. But before we do, a little bit of a plug. Little bit. I hate saying the word plug. That's just a weird word. But guys, go visit AKAPAD.com. We are doing more and more with this website. If you truly want to enter my mind and see my world and see a lot of the world and read about a lot of the world through my eyes, all of entertainment, all of my life, it's all there. Giant passion project, unlike anything you've ever seen, and I can guarantee that because I have been looking. So Seth Rogen, he's a political tweeter, Xer, and we're not supposed to like him for that. We're supposed to think he's anti-American. I believe he's Canadian. Is he still Canadian? Did Seth Rogen change? When are we going to just call him an American? But he's just a divisive person. He said a lot of crazy things, according to some people. Full ownership. Even to me, he said some things that made me turn my head. But it would be no different than if he was standing in back of me in a line at Starbucks and he rambles on about something to someone else and just like, that guy. I don't know. In the world of the internet, we feel like we know people. Isn't that the weird thing where people can put themselves out on social and we think we know them? I guess I'm guilty of that too. The Studio came up to me a few times, so a couple of people, and recently one of my, I guess, like relatives, but it's an individual recently graduated from college, film courses. Like, I think some of his film classes struck him, and I just like, whenever I see him, we just exchange, what are you watching, what am I watching, quick conversations, and he brought up The Studio. And I said, it's going to be time for me to watch that show because it's come up in multiple conversations. And it shows you a little bit, that exchange shows you how complicated it is to get into something nowadays. Because I had to hear about it for a little bit before cashing in on it. Now, previously, right, like we would have shows like The Studio, and they would be 22 episode orders, and they would just run for months, and you would hear about it, and you have to get into it, and you would have a FOMO to get into it because the next week there'll be a new episode. And this is all like word of mouth, even pre-internet days. But you had to, you couldn't fall too far behind. I always reference this, the Sopranos, which I've only went through one time. Buffy the Vampire Slayer only went through one time. I never scrolled through episodes to re-explore them. Same with Sopranos. I got into both of those shows relatively, within the third season. And at the time, I was able, because one was syndicated and one was cable, I was able to catch some of the earlier episodes, but still never watching it all the way through beginning, middle, and end. Just picking it up picking it up from a certain point and then watching it until they wrapped it up. That's a lot of what the viewership, like the viewing experience, was for serialized entertainment. The studio, there's a little bit of levity. You have 8 episodes. You hope you catch fire with word of mouth. You hope you go viral. This show is completely and 100% a word of mouth show. I haven't seen a lot about it on TikTok. Just for example, no clips went viral. Nothing like that. And I'm not saying the TikTok feed leans into your interest more than anything. Maybe if I got interested and searched out for some studio clips, it would just constantly feed those to me. I don't know, but I just haven't seen even like other commentators. Like the show is somewhat under the radar. Tim Robbins is in this movie called The Player, and Kevin Spacey's in this other movie called Swimming with Sharks. And then we have this element of like Entourage. That's a little bit of the brew that we're making here. We have Seth Rogen, who I consider to be a story smith of our times, and I might drop it later today. I don't know, because I kind of wanted this the studio episode of mine, and I have a Seth Rogen focused like a creators episode focused episode to drop, because I do consider Seth Rogen one of the story smiths of our time. I think the things that he's touched, I think his collaborators, he has a writing room unlike any other. One of the guys I want to give credit to for how great and, in my view, successful this show is Evan Goldberg. He is a longtime collaborator with Seth. His accolades, his filmography, his everything, film, television, the list goes on. Even as producer, the list goes on. He has been writer. He has been executive producer. He has been producer for nearly every single one of Seth Rogen's projects. Primarily, some of the Seth Rogen projects that are streamed services or streamed shows. This guy, in my mind, is one of the great comedy writers and minds of this day. Evan Goldberg does not get mentioned enough. So exactly like what is the show? What makes it so good? Look, it's Seth Rogen makes the show good. Bryan Cranston, we know him from Breaking Bad, makes this show good. The unsung hero is Ike Barinholtz. He's our guy. He's the one with the line, delete my browser history from Suicide Squad. He is the number 2. And whenever he's an individual that a lot like Seth Rogen, and a lot like, you sure about that guy that has that meme? I don't even know that actor's name. But when you see them, they just look like comedy. I'm not saying they look funny. They look like comedy. Same as like young fat Jonah Hill. You look like comedy. This guy, I love him on screen. I love that he's almost in every single shot with Seth Rogen. It's amazing. Now, we have a little bit of a format. And this is what came up with this recent conversation with the show. We're not cutting. A lot of these episodes seem to be single shot episodes. They're rehearsed. We know some of this through the Netflix show Adolescence, the process of that. We also have a movie coming up called Burnt that is oh my god, Burnt is such a good one shot movie. This is a wonderful trend that we're seeing. And the reason for that is we're seeing a lot of this technology able to play out. We're not switching film canisters. We have better tracking. We have better steady cams. We have ways to pick up these shots and to move them, if that makes any sense. And by that, I mean we can put pieces of equipment together because things are more compact. We can design our sets a lot differently because of, again, like what the modern day picture modern day sound, the things that enables, and the way it's condensed, and how broad and far reaching some of it is, meaning the audio. Like we can be on top of the sound, but we can also not be. These are the great things that the modern world enables for our creatives. And we have a little bit of a generation now taking advantage of it. In my view, the studio takes advantage of all of it. I think even visually, the studio works. It sings. It's beautiful to look at. It is a little bit of the golden years of Hollywood, which it's trying to emulate. We get that with the Bryan Cranston character, because Bryan Cranston is clearly Robert Evans in this, or John Peters, or a mixture of both. But visually, we're there. We also have to give a big shout out for Chase Sue Wanders. Chase, the girl's name is Wanders. I love it. She's fantastic. Catherine Hahn is fantastic. Agatha all along, which I have yet to watch. We have a spectacular cast. This looks fantastic. We have one of the best writers in the business all over this. We have Seth Rogen, who might be running the most successful creator studio or creator company. Everything that goes through the Seth Rogen Co. It's very similar to Adam Sandler, just endless success. They have a knack for story. They have a love for storytelling. I think it comes all the way through. And guys, we just have to say, our promo poster, the studio, which is a clear nod to the Sting. Now, if we go into the early imagery, the branding, the posters, the thumbnails, whatever you want to call them, of the studio, we get something very different. We get, we even get Seth Rogen climbing the ladder, and it's like a film reel. It's very The Player, by the way. But at the same time, it doesn't quite hit the audience. I think that they rebranded and re-imaged this show for a different type of push. And the push is the things and the wackiness of a studio that you hear about, that you read about, that you hear a lot of actors discuss. The list goes on and on. Every single movie that comes out, they do these press junkets. It's just this endless stream. It is fascinating how dysfunctional some of these studios are, and the wonderful works that they can produce. Now, I never view them as dysfunctional. I think that's like an entourage thing. It's just they're pumping the stock, they're selling it a certain way. In a way, the studio is a part of the love of selling the process. By the way, too, the studio font is the Sting's font. It just goes on, which might be like a copperplate font for any font heads out there. But guys, this series is fantastic to get in on. Especially, it's fantastic to get in on, especially on a Friday night. So hey, I love you. Coming to you from Philadelphia, PA, the film capital of the world, home of the film buff. Go watch the studio, and I guess you're going to have to subscribe, but just pay for it, because there's a lot of good stuff there. Pay for Apple Plus. Love you guys.
Okay, that's a wrap.